The council chamber was larger than any stadium on Earth. Its walls curved upward into darkness, decorated with living crystals that pulsed with soft light. Ambassador David Cole stood on a floating platform in the center, surrounded by thousands of alien beings who watched him with eyes, sensors, and organs he could not name. He was the first human to ever stand before the Galactic Council. He would not be the last. "You are the representative of Earth?" The voice came from above, where the high tribunal sat on thrones made of solidified starlight. The speaker was a creature called Ralvek, whose body was made of constantly shifting blue energy. He was the oldest member of the council, having lived for over 2 million years. David nodded slowly. "I am Ambassador David Cole, speaking for the United Earth government and all 8 billion humans on our planet." A sound rippled through the chamber. It took David a moment to realize it was laughter. Thousands of aliens, from dozens of species, were laughing at him. 8 billion, said another council member, a massive insectoid creature named Trixel, whose compound eyes reflected David's image 1,000 times. Such a small number. The Vorten Collective alone contains 90 trillion individuals across 300 worlds. "Numbers," David said quietly, "are not everything." The laughter stopped. Something in his voice made the aliens pause. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something else entirely. Something they had not expected from a primitive species. Ralvek leaned forward on his throne. "Human, do you understand why you have been brought here?" David had been briefed extensively before leaving Earth. He knew why, but he wanted to hear them say it. "Please explain it to me, High Tribunal." 500,000 years ago, Ralvek began, the Galactic Council created your species. We took primitive primates from Earth and modified their genetic structure. We gave them larger brains, opposable thumbs, the capacity for language. We designed humans to be a servant race, useful for simple labor on agricultural colonies. The chamber fell silent. Every alien watched David's reaction. He gave them nothing. "However," Ralvek continued, "we were called away to deal with a crisis in a distant galaxy. We expected to return within 10,000 years. Instead, circumstances prevented our return for 500,000 years. Now we have come back to claim what belongs to us." David felt his hands tighten into fists, but he kept his voice calm. "You created us as slaves." "We created you as property," Trixel corrected. "There is a difference. Slaves have rights under galactic law. Property does not. And now you want us back." Ralvek nodded, his energy form flickering. "The Council has reviewed your planet's development during our absence. We expected to find a docile agricultural society. Instead, we found nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence, spacecraft that have reached your outer planets. This was not part of the design. We evolved," David said. "You mutated," Ralvek replied. "The genetic modifications we made were supposed to limit your development. Something went wrong. You became more than we intended. This presents a problem for the Council." David looked around the chamber at the thousands of alien faces watching him. Some looked curious. Some looked disgusted. Some looked hungry in ways he did not want to understand. "What do you intend to do about this problem?" he asked. Another council member spoke. This one was called Northex, a being made of living metal, whose surface constantly rippled like liquid silver. "The Council has 3 options before it. First, we could reclaim humanity as originally intended. Your people would be distributed across the galaxy to serve as a labor force. Second, we could terminate the experiment entirely. Your planet would be sterilized, all human life ended. Third, we could attempt genetic correction, reducing your intelligence to the levels we originally designed." David said nothing for a long moment. The silence stretched through the chamber. "And if we refuse?" he finally asked. The laughter returned, louder this time. Morthax's liquid metal face formed something like a smile. Refuse? Human, you cannot refuse. The Council's fleet is already positioned around your solar system. We have 7,000 warships, each capable of destroying your entire planet a dozen times over. Your species possesses perhaps 50 spacecraft capable of leaving orbit. You have no fleet, no weapons that could harm us, no allies in the galaxy. What exactly would you refuse with? David reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. Guards immediately surrounded his platform, weapons aimed at his head. He ignored them. Before we continue, he said, I would like to share something with the Council. Ralvek gestured, and the guards lowered their weapons slightly. Speak, human. It changes nothing, but speak. David activated the device. The chamber's holographic systems flickered, and suddenly the walls displayed images from Earth. But these were not images of cities or landscapes. They were images of war. You left us alone for 500,000 years, David said as the images cycled. In that time, we fought more than 20,000 wars against ourselves. We developed weapons to kill each other in increasingly efficient ways. Swords, guns, bombs, nuclear missiles. We became very good at destruction. The images showed ancient battles, medieval sieges, modern warfare, mushroom clouds rising over test sites. But more importantly, David continued, we became very good at surviving destruction. Every war taught us. Every conflict made us stronger. Every enemy we faced, we eventually defeated. Trixel clicked her mandibles in annoyance. You fought primitive wars against primitive opponents. The Galactic Council has conquered 1,000,000 worlds. Your history is meaningless, perhaps, David said. But I noticed something interesting about your council. You have existed for 3 million years. You have conquered countless species. But in all that time, you have never had to fight someone who wanted to survive as badly as we do. He changed the holographic display. Now it showed star charts, ship designs, weapon specifications. The alien audience leaned forward, confused by what they were seeing. 20 years ago, David explained, one of your survey ships passed too close to our outer solar system. It was damaged by debris and crashed on our moon. We found it. We studied it. Ralvek's energy form turned darker. Impossible. Our records show no lost vessels. Because you did not lose it, we captured it, and we learned from it. Your faster-than-light technology. Your shield systems. Your weapon frequencies. David smiled, and there was no warmth in it. We have spent the last 20 years preparing for this moment. The chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted. Guards charged toward David's platform. Council members rose from their thrones. But David's voice cut through the noise. The United Earth government rejects your authority. We reject your claim of ownership, and we reject your 3 options. He stood straight, facing the most powerful governing body in the galaxy without flinching. Humanity chooses option 4. There is no option 4. Morthax screamed, his liquid metal body churning with rage. There is now, David replied. If you want Earth, you will have to take it. And I promise you, the cost will be higher than you can imagine. The guards reached his platform, but before they could grab him, David pressed another button on his device. His body shimmered and disappeared, teleported back to the human shuttle waiting outside the council chamber. Ralvek stared at the empty platform, his ancient mind struggling to process what had just happened. No species had ever defied the council like this. No species had ever been foolish enough to try. Send word to the fleet, he said finally, his voice echoing through the stunned chamber. The humans have chosen extinction. Let them have it. But as the council prepared for what they believed would be a simple extermination, a small device remained on the platform where David had stood. Its light blinked once, twice, and then it transmitted a signal that would reach every corner of the galactic network within hours. Humanity's message was simple. We are coming. And for the first time in 3 million years, the Galactic Council felt something they had forgotten existed. Fear. The shuttle carrying Ambassador David Cole broke through Earth's atmosphere at 3 times the speed of sound. Inside, David sat motionless, his mind replaying every moment of his confrontation with the Council. He had done what needed to be done. Now came the hard part. Waiting for him on the ground was General Maria Santos, commander of Earth's newly formed Unified Defense Force. She was a small woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. When David stepped off the shuttle, she did not smile. "How long do we have?" she asked. 72 hours, David replied. "They want to give us time to suffer before they destroy us." Maria nodded and turned toward the underground bunker complex that had become humanity's command center. "Then we have 72 hours to change the future." The bunker was a hive of activity. Thousands of military personnel, scientists, and government officials moved through corridors carved deep into the mountain. Screens covered every wall, showing satellite feeds, fleet positions, and the 7,000 alien warships currently surrounding Earth's solar system. In the central command room, the leaders of every major nation had gathered. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and admirals filled the space, their faces drawn with exhaustion and fear. They had been briefed on the situation. They knew what was coming. David walked to the main display and activated it. A holographic image of the solar system appeared, with Earth at the center and the alien fleet represented by thousands of red dots forming a sphere around them. "The Council has given us 3 choices," David said. "Slavery, death, or genetic modification that would turn us into animals. I have rejected all 3 on behalf of humanity." A murmur passed through the room. The Russian president, a heavyset man named Viktor Petrov, spoke first. "You declared war on an enemy with 7,000 warships. We have 50 spacecraft that can barely reach Mars. What exactly is your plan, Ambassador?" David smiled grimly. "My plan is to show you what we have been building for the last 20 years. He pressed a button, and the display changed. The red dots representing the alien fleet remained, but now new symbols appeared throughout the solar system. Green dots, hidden in asteroid fields, tucked behind moons, scattered across the outer planets. Hundreds of them. After we captured the alien scout ship in 2005, David explained, we realized that we were not alone in the universe, and that whoever was out there was not friendly. Every major nation agreed to work together in secret. We called it Project Phoenix. General Santos stepped forward. We reverse-engineered their technology, their shields, their weapons, their engines. It took us 15 years, but we built a fleet. The display zoomed in on the green dots, revealing their shapes. They were warships, sleek and deadly, built with a combination of human engineering and alien technology. There were carriers, destroyers, frigates, and massive battleships bristling with weapons. 347 ships, David said, each one crewed by volunteers who have trained for this moment their entire lives. Each one carrying weapons that can hurt those alien vessels. The Chinese president, a woman named Lei Wei, leaned forward. 300 against 7,000. Those odds are not good. No, David agreed. Which is why we are not planning to fight them ship to ship. He changed the display again. Now it showed a single massive structure hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It was a weapon, that much was clear, but its design was unlike anything anyone had seen before. We call it the Hammer, David said. It took 12 years to build. It uses principles of physics that we barely understand ourselves. But we know one thing for certain. When activated, it will generate a gravitational pulse strong enough to tear apart anything within 10 million kilometers. Silence filled the room. Viktor Petrov's face had gone pale. That would destroy their entire fleet. Yes, it would also destroy Mars, the asteroid belt, and possibly damage Earth itself. Yes, Li Wei stood up sharply. You are talking about using a weapon that could kill billions of our own people to defeat an enemy. That is madness. That is survival, David replied coldly. The Council has made it clear. If we do not fight, we die. If we fight and lose, we die. The only way humanity survives is if we win. And the only way we win is if we are willing to pay any price. General Santos raised her hand for silence. The hammer is our last resort. Before we use it, we have other plans. She brought up a new display showing the alien fleet in detail. The Council thinks they are invading a primitive world that cannot fight back. They do not know about our fleet. They do not know about the hammer. And they do not know about Operation Trojan. David took over the explanation. When I was in the Council chamber, I uploaded a virus into their communication network. It will not destroy anything, but it will give us access to their fleet's tactical data. We will know their every move before they make it. For the first time, hope flickered in the eyes of the assembled leaders. The plan is simple, General Santos continued. We let them come. We let them think they have already won. And when they are committed, when their fleet is in position to strike Earth, we hit them with everything we have. 300 ships attacking from hidden positions across the solar system. The hammer standing by if we need it. And 8 billion humans ready to fight on the ground if any of them make it through. Viktor Petrov slowly nodded. You want us to gamble the entire human race on one battle? I want us to survive, David said. The Council has ruled this galaxy for 3 million years. They have never lost. They have never faced a species willing to destroy itself rather than submit. They do not understand us. That is our advantage. The debate lasted for hours. Some leaders argued for surrender, hoping the Council might show mercy. Others demanded immediate attack, unwilling to wait while alien ships surrounded their world. But in the end, when the vote was taken, the result was unanimous. Humanity would fight not as the leaders dispersed to prepare their nations for war. David remained in the command center. He stared at the display showing Earth, small and blue and fragile against the blackness of space. Do you think we can win? General Santos asked, standing beside him. I think we have no choice but to try, David replied. The Council sees us as property, as failed experiments. They have forgotten what it means to face someone with nothing to lose. And if we lose? If they destroy us? David turned to face her. Then we make sure they remember us forever. We make sure that for the rest of their 3-million-year empire, they tell stories about the little species from a small blue planet that refused to die quietly. Santos almost smiled. That is not much of a legacy. It is the only one we can guarantee. Outside, beyond the mountain, beyond the atmosphere, beyond the thin shell of safety that surrounded Earth, the alien fleet began to move. 7,000 ships, carrying weapons that could crack planets, started their slow approach toward the world they had come to claim. They expected no resistance. They expected easy victory. They expected the same submission they had received from 1 million other species across 1 million other worlds. They were about to learn that humans were different. In the command center, alarms began to sound. The final countdown had begun. 60 hours until contact. 60 hours until the war that would determine humanity's fate. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, hidden among the asteroids and moons, 347 human ships powered up their weapons and prepared to teach the galaxy what it meant to threaten Earth. Admiral James Wright stood on the bridge of the Defiance, humanity's largest warship. hidden in the shadow of Jupiter's moon Europa. Through the view screen, he could see nothing but ice and darkness. But his tactical display told a different story. The alien fleet had entered the inner solar system. All ships report ready, his first officer, Commander Yuki Tanaka, announced. Phoenix fleet is in position. James nodded slowly. He was 63 years old, a veteran of 3 Earthbound wars, and he had spent the last decade preparing for this moment. Every simulation, every drill, every sleepless night had led to this battle. Status of the enemy fleet? 6,800 ships have crossed Mars orbit. The remaining 200 are holding position near the outer planets. Yuki paused. They left a reserve force. They are not as confident as we hoped. James studied the tactical display. The alien formation was overwhelming. Their ships moved in perfect coordination, thousands of vessels arranged in layers of attack and defense. It was beautiful in a terrible way, like watching a hurricane approach from space. Any response to our virus? He asked. YUK. I shook her head. Their communications are still active. Either they have not detected it, or they are ignoring it. Or it is a trap, James muttered. The Council had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. They did not become that powerful by being stupid. What does Earth Command say? General Santos confirms the plan. We wait until they are committed, then we strike. James turned to look at his crew. Young men and women, the best humanity had to offer, all of them knowing they would probably die today. They had volunteered anyway. Open a channel to all ships, he ordered. The communication display flickered to life, showing hundreds of small windows, each one displaying the bridge of another human vessel. Captains, commanders, officers, all waiting for their admiral to speak. This is Admiral Wright, James began. In a few hours, we will fight the most powerful military force in galactic history. Our enemy has 7,000 ships. We have 300. Our enemy has weapons that can crack planets. Our enemy has 3 million years of conquest behind them. They expect us to surrender. They expect us to beg for mercy. He paused, letting his words sink in. They expect wrong. We are human. We have fought against impossible odds before. We have faced extinction before. And every time we have survived. Not because we were stronger. Not because we were smarter. But because we refused to give up. Because we understood something that the Council has forgotten. James stood straighter, his voice growing harder. Freedom is not given. It is taken. And today, we take ours. Whatever happens in the next few hours, remember this. We are not fighting for territory. We are not fighting for resources. We are fighting for the right to exist. For our children. For our future. For Earth. He could see tears in some eyes, determination in others. Goo. They needed both. All ships, prepare for battle. Ride out. The channel closed. Yuki stepped closer to him. Admiral, the enemy vanguard is 30 minutes from engagement range. Let them come. We stick to the plan. The plan was simple in concept, complex in execution. The human fleet was divided into 12 strike groups, each hidden at different points throughout the inner solar system. When the alien fleet passed certain predetermined positions, the strike groups would attack simultaneously from multiple directions, causing maximum confusion before retreating and regrouping. It was guerrilla warfare on a cosmic scale. Hit and run. Ambush and escape. Make them pay for every kilometer they advanced. The minutes crawled by. On the tactical display, the alien fleet drew closer and closer to Earth. James watched their formation, looking for weaknesses. He found few. Admiral, Yuki suddenly said, her voice sharp. Something is happening. The alien fleet stopped. 7,000 ships, moving in perfect coordination, came to a complete halt. Why did they stop? James demanded. Before Yuki could answer, the communication display flickered. A face appeared, but it was not human. It was Ralvek, the ancient energy being who led the Galactic Council. "Admiral James Wright," Ralvek said, his voice echoing through the bridge. "Yes, we know your name. We know about your fleet. We know about your positions. Did you think your primitive virus could fool us?" James felt ice form in his stomach. They knew. Somehow, they knew everything. "We allowed your ambassador to upload his virus," Ralvek continued. "We allowed him to think he had succeeded. We wanted to see what humanity would do when faced with extinction. We wanted to see if you would submit peacefully or resist foolishly." The alien's energy form flickered with what might have been amusement. "You chose foolishly. But I must admit, your determination is impressive. 300 ships against 7,000. Weapons reverse-engineered from our own technology. A willingness to fight despite impossible odds. You are more than we expected." James found his voice. "Then you know this will not be easy." "Easy? No, but the outcome is certain. We have faced rebellions before, Admiral. We have crushed species far more advanced than yours. Your defiance changes nothing except the method of your destruction." James straightened in his chair. "If the outcome is so certain, why are you talking to me? Why not simply attack?" Ralvek was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, almost curious. "Because in 3 million years, no species has ever done what you are doing. Every other creation accepted its place. Every other experiment understood its purpose. But you actually believe you can win." "I believe we will never stop fighting," James replied. "Today, tomorrow, for 100 years or 1,000. Even if you destroy every ship, even if you burn our cities, even if you reduce us to nothing, some human somewhere will keep fighting. That is who we are." Ralvek's form flickered again. "Then you give us no choice but to eliminate you completely. Your species will be erased from existence. Your planet will be sterilized. Your very DNA will be purged from the galaxy. Humanity will end, Admiral. Today." The communication cut off. For a long moment, no one on the bridge spoke. Then Yuki said quietly, "They are moving again. All ships heading directly for our positions." James looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was no longer advancing in careful formation. They were spreading out, moving to encircle every one of the hidden human strike groups. They knew exactly where to find them. The plan had failed before it began. "Admiral," Yuki said, "what do we do?" James closed his eyes for a moment, thinking. The virus had failed. The element of surprise was gone. 300 ships against 7,000, with no tricks left to play. He opened his eyes. "We fight anyway," he said. "All ships break concealment. Attack Formation Omega. Target their command vessels first." Across the solar system, human ships emerged from their hiding places. 300 vessels against an enemy that outnumbered them more than 20 to 1. It was suicide. It was insanity. It was humanity's only choice. The Defiance's engines roared to life. And Admiral James Wright led his fleet into the most desperate battle in human history. They had no chance of winning. They attacked anyway. And somewhere near the asteroid belt, hidden in the darkness, the weapon called the Hammer waited silently for the signal that would end everything. The battle lasted 6 hours. In the command center beneath the mountain, General Maria Santos watched her fleet die. Screen after screen showed human ships exploding, burning, breaking apart under the overwhelming firepower of the alien armada. The Phoenix fleet fought with desperate courage, destroying hundreds of enemy vessels. But for every alien ship that fell, 5 human ships were lost. Defiance is gone, a communications officer reported, his voice hollow. Admiral Wright's last transmission was 3 minutes ago. Maria closed her eyes. James Wright had been her friend for 30 years. She had danced at his wedding, held his grandchildren, shared countless dinners at his home. Now he was debris, floating somewhere near Venus. "How many ships do we have left?" she asked. 47? They are falling back to defensive positions around Earth. 47 out of 347. The fleet was almost destroyed. The plan had failed completely. And the alien armada, still numbering over 6,000 ships despite their losses, continued its advance toward Earth. David Cole stood at her side, his face gray with exhaustion and grief. "It is time," he said quietly. Maria knew what he meant. The hammer. Their weapon of last resort. A gravitational pulse that would destroy the alien fleet but also devastate the inner solar system, possibly including Earth itself. "If we activate the hammer," she said, "we might kill ourselves along with them. If we do not activate it, they will definitely kill us." She turned to look at him. "You realize what you are asking? We would be gambling the survival of 8 billion people on a weapon we have never tested at full power. We are already gambling their survival. At least this way, we have a chance." Maria looked back at the main display. The alien fleet was hours away from reaching Earth. When they arrived, they would begin the sterilization they had promised. Every city burned. Every human killed. Every trace of their species erased from the galaxy. "There has to be another way," she whispered. "There is not." "You know there is not." Before she could respond, an alarm sounded. The communications officer looked up sharply. "General, we are receiving a transmission. It is coming from the alien flagship." Maria nodded. "Put it through." The display flickered, and Ralvek's energy form appeared once again. But something was different. The ancient being looked troubled, his form flickering unevenly. "General Santos," he said, "I have watched your fleet's destruction. Your ships fought well, better than any species we have faced in 1,000,000 years. But it is over. Your resistance has ended." Maria said nothing. "However," Ralvek continued, "I am prepared to offer you one final chance. Surrender now, and we will not sterilize your planet. Instead, we will proceed with genetic modification. Your species will survive, though in a diminished form. Your children will live, though they will not understand what they have lost. You are offering us slavery instead of death. I am offering you existence instead of extinction. That is more than we offer most failed experiments." Maria looked at David. He shook his head slightly. She knew what he was thinking. Surrender meant the end of humanity as they knew it. Future generations would be animals, unable to think, unable to dream, unable to remember that they had once reached for the stars, but they would be alive. Why? Maria asked suddenly. Why make this offer now? You were ready to destroy us completely. What changed? Ralvek was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. Your fleet destroyed 800 of our vessels. 800. In 3 million years of conquest, no single battle has cost us so many ships. Your species has proven itself more dangerous than we anticipated, so you are afraid of us. We are ... cautious. Even diminished, you could be useful. Your aggression, properly directed, could serve the Council's purposes. There are enemies in the galaxy, even we struggle against. Enemies who might fall to a species like yours. Maria understood now. They wanted to use humanity as a weapon against their own enemies. Turn the failed experiment into an attack dog, pointed at whoever threatened the Council's power. And if I refuse your offer? She asked. Then we proceed with sterilization as planned. Your planet will burn. Your species will end. and the galaxy will forget you ever existed. The command center was silent. Every officer, every soldier, every scientist waited for Maria's answer. The fate of humanity rested on her next words. She thought about the hammer waiting in the asteroid belt. She thought about the 47 ships still defending Earth, filled with people willing to die for their freedom. She thought about the 8 billion humans on the planet below, going about their lives, unaware that their future was being decided in this moment. "I need time," she said finally. "Time to consult with my government, to discuss your offer with other leaders." Ralvek's form flickered impatiently. "You have 1 hour. After that, we proceed with or without your answer." The transmission ended. Maria turned to face David and the assembled officers. "Everyone out. I need to speak with Ambassador Cole alone." The room emptied quickly. When the doors closed, Maria slumped against the display console. "We cannot surrender," David said immediately. "You know what they will do to us. And if we fight, we die anyway. The hammer might not work. Even if it does, it might destroy Earth along with the alien fleet. At least we would die free." Maria laughed bitterly. "Free? We have been free for such a short time, David. A few thousand years of building civilizations, of creating art, of reaching for the stars. And now it ends. One way or another, it ends." David walked to her side. "Maybe it does not have to end." "What do you mean?" "The hammer was our last resort. But there is something else. Something we never told you about." Maria stared at him. "What are you talking about?" David pulled out his communication device and entered a code. The main display changed, showing not the alien fleet, but something else. A signal. A message traveling through space at faster than light speeds, heading toward the outer edges of the galaxy. 20 years ago, when we captured that alien ship, we found something in its database. Records of another species. A species that had also been created by the Council millions of years ago. A species that had escaped, hidden themselves in the darkness between galaxies, built themselves into something powerful. Maria's eyes widened. "You contacted them?" "We sent a message explaining our situation. We asked for help." David looked at the display. 3 days ago, they answered. "What did they say?" David smiled, and for the first time since the battle began, there was hope in his eyes. "They said they have been waiting for someone to fight back. They said they are coming. And they said the Council has no idea what is about to happen." Maria looked at the signal, at the message traveling across the cosmos toward allies humanity had never met. "How long until they arrive?" "Their message said 2 hours. The Council gave us 1 hour. Then we need to stall them." Maria straightened up, a new determination filling her. "Open a channel to the alien flagship. Tell them I want to negotiate terms. Tell them I need details, guarantees, assurances. Tell them anything that will buy us time." David nodded and moved to the communications console. Maria looked at the display one more time. Somewhere in the darkness of space, help was coming. All humanity had to do was survive long enough to receive it. 1 hour. That was all they needed. That was everything they had. The negotiations were a performance. And Maria Santos played her role perfectly. For 53 minutes, she argued with Ralvek about details that did not matter. She demanded guarantees for human cultural preservation. She asked about the genetic modification process. She requested information about the colonies where modified humans would be sent. Every question bought precious seconds while the clock counted down. "Enough," Ralvek finally declared, his patience exhausted. "Your time has ended, General. I require your answer now. Surrender or extinction. Choose." Maria looked at the countdown display hidden behind her. 7 minutes. They needed 7 more minutes. "I choose," she began. The command center's lights flickered. Every display scrambled with static. And then, across every screen, a new image appeared. Ships. Thousands of ships, emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. But these were not human ships, and they were not council ships. They were something else entirely. Ralvek's form froze. For the first time in their communications, Maria saw genuine shock on the ancient being's face. "Impossible," he whispered. The new fleet was vast, easily matching the council's numbers. Their ships were dark, angular, covered with strange symbols that glowed with inner light. They moved in formations that seemed almost organic, flowing through space like a living thing. A new transmission cut through all frequencies, reaching every vessel in the solar system simultaneously. "This is High Commander Velinor of the Free Species Alliance. The Galactic Council's authority is hereby rejected. Earth and its people are under our protection." Maria watched as Ralvek's display flickered wildly. She could hear chaos in the background of his transmission, alien voices shouting in languages she could not understand. "This is not possible," Ralvek said, his voice no longer confident. "The free species were destroyed. We eliminated them 3 million years ago." The new voice, Velinor, responded calmly. "You tried to eliminate us. You failed. We have spent 3 million years preparing for this moment, High Arbiter. We have watched you conquer and enslave countless species. We have waited for someone brave enough to resist you. Humanity has shown that courage." The Council fleet began to reorganize, turning to face the new threat. But Maria could see the confusion in their movements. They had expected easy victory. They had not expected this. "You cannot defeat us," Ralvek insisted. The Council's power is built on fear," Velinor interrupted. "Fear of extinction. Fear of defiance. But humanity has shown the galaxy that defiance is possible. Others will follow. The species you have enslaved will rise. The empire you have built will fall." The two fleets faced each other across the blackness of space. Thousands of ships on each side, weapons charged, ready to fight. The largest battle in galactic history was about to begin, but it never did. Instead, Ralvek's transmission cut off abruptly. For several minutes, there was silence. Then a new message came through, this time from multiple council ships simultaneously. "This is Fleet Commander Trixel. The High Arbiter has been removed from command. The Council fleet is standing down." Maria could not believe what she was hearing. Standing down? Why? Trixel's insectoid face appeared on the display. "Because we are not fools, General. We came here to claim a primitive species. Instead, we found warriors who destroyed 800 of our ships and allies who outnumber us. The Council values survival above all else. We know when we are beaten. What happens now?" Maria asked. "Now we leave. The Council will withdraw from this sector of the galaxy. Earth and its surrounding systems will be recognized as sovereign territory. Humanity will be free." Maria felt tears forming in her eyes. "Just like that? After everything you said about property and failed experiments?" Trixel made a sound that might have been laughter. High Arbiter Ralvek was a fool who let his pride blind him. The rest of the Council is more practical. We would rather lose one species than lose a war against 2 enemy fleets simultaneously. She paused, her compound eyes focusing on Maria. "But know this, General. The Council has long memories. We will watch humanity. We will wait. And if you ever show weakness, we will return." "Then we will never show weakness," Maria replied. The transmission ended. On the display, Maria watched as the Council fleet began to withdraw, thousands of ships turning away from Earth and heading toward deep space. It was over. Against all odds, against all logic, humanity had won. The command center erupted in celebration. Officers hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. Someone started singing, and others joined in. For the first time in days, there was joy instead of fear. David Cole stood beside Maria, watching the alien ships retreat. "We did it," he said quietly. "We actually did it." "We survived," Maria corrected. "That is not the same as winning. It is enough for today." She nodded slowly. He was right. Today, survival was enough. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The Free Species Alliance would want something in return for their help. Earth would need to rebuild its fleet. And somewhere in the galaxy, the Galactic Council was still watching, still waiting, still dangerous. But those were problems for tomorrow. A new transmission came through. This time from Velinor of the Free Species Alliance. "General Santos, I would like to meet with your leaders. There is much to discuss about the future." Maria smiled. "We would be honored, High Commander. Welcome to Earth." 6 months later, Ambassador David Cole stood once again in the Galactic Council chamber. But this time, he was not alone. Representatives of the Free Species Alliance stood beside him, along with delegates from 12 other species, who had recently declared their independence from Council rule. The chamber was half empty. Many species had withdrawn from the Council after Earth's victory, inspired by humanity's example. The great empire that had ruled the galaxy for 3 million years was crumbling. High Arbiter Ralvek was gone, replaced by a more moderate leader. The new council watched David with a mixture of hatred and fear. "The council recognizes the sovereignty of Earth and the Free Species Alliance," the new High Arbiter announced, each word clearly painful to speak. "Furthermore, the council agrees to release all enslaved species within its territory over the next 500 years. David nodded. "The Free Species Alliance accepts these terms. We hope this marks the beginning of a new era of cooperation and peace." He did not believe that, and neither did anyone else in the chamber. But it was what needed to be said. The war was over, at least for now. What came next would be determined by future generations. As David left the chamber, Vaylane walked beside him. The Free Species commander was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like starlight. "Your species is remarkable," Valinor said. "In a few decades, you went from primitive technology to building a fleet that challenged the Council. In a few days, you went from facing extinction to changing the galaxy. I have never seen anything like it." David shrugged. "We adapt. We survive. It is what we do." "Yes, and that is what makes you dangerous." Valinor stopped and faced David directly. "The Council fears you now. So do many others. You have shown that change is possible, that empires can fall. That is a powerful idea, Ambassador. Ideas change the universe." David looked back at the council chamber, at the ancient beings who had ruled the galaxy since before humans existed. They had created humanity as slaves. They had tried to destroy humanity when that failed. And now they had to watch humanity take its place among the stars. "We did not ask for any of this," David said. "We just wanted to survive. And in doing so, you have given hope to 1,000 species. That is your legacy, Ambassador. Whatever else humanity accomplishes, you will always be remembered as the species that refused to die." David thought about Admiral Wright, about the 300 ships that had given everything, about the 8 billion humans on Earth who had faced extinction with courage. "Then let them remember us," he said. "Let them remember that when the most powerful force in the galaxy told us to submit, we said no. Let them remember that we fought when we had no chance of winning. Let them remember that we would rather die free than live as slaves." Valinor nodded slowly. "They will remember, Ambassador. The galaxy will never forget." Above them, the stars shone with ancient light. And among those stars, On a small blue planet called Earth, humanity began its next chapter. They had survived the Council's judgment. They had won their freedom. Now they had to build something worthy of the price they had paid. It would not be easy. It would take generations. But humans had time now. They had a future. And that was all they had ever wanted. The end.